Passport Transport offers a world-class experience transporting vehicles of all kinds, including vintage racers and collector cars. Whether a daily driver, classic collector, or a vintage race car, Passport Transport takes the extra steps to ensure the vehicle's safety because it shares each car owner's appreciation of flying automobiles. Passport Transport.
All right, well, here we are at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. We have a special guest joining us, but before we introduce him, we're going to go through the field. And if you know anything about me, this is my favorite group. I'm super excited about this. That's Cottrell that we're looking at right there. But starting at pole, and who has not lost a Mazda Miata race in over a year, is Anthony Fornetti in a 1990 Mazda Miata. Skylar Cottrell in that Pepto-Bismol pink 1999 Mazda Miata. Mark Cash in a 99 Mazda Miata. Gil Jackson in a 90 Mazda Miata. Yusuf Muhammad in a 1999 Mazda Miata, and he was here last week with the Hoosier Super Tour, racing in a field of 73 cars. Delaney Calhoun in a 1990 Mazda Miata. David Bain in a Miata. Richard Schnabel, old MG driver, has crossed over to the dark side in a Mazda Miata. Daniel Becker in 9th in a 1977 Crossley 32F. John Nash, who we saw in the same car in Group 8, and is now taking the put the weight on for this Group 3 1962 Lotus Super 7. Jeff White in the 78 Crossley Formula Ford. Andrew McLean is our first Group 1 1958 Austin Healey Bug-Eye Sprite. James Freeman in this beautiful red Group 4 1958 Devon SS. Dale Irwin in a Group 3 Porsche 356 in SVRA blue, so I hope they took a second off his qualifying time. Scott Frazier in what I call Kermit the Frog Eye Sprite 1958. He is in 15th. He is our Group 1 champion, and the person next to me is not going to like that because he's our 5-time Group 1 champion in years past. Followed by Rick Frazier, his dad, both of them for the Atlanta area, 1972 MG Midget. David Conrad from Zapata Racing takes the top of Zapata in this Group 1 race, 1959 MGA. Followed by Gary Hagopian in a 1958 Austin Healey Bug-Eye Sprite. Tom Brown in a 1963 Blue Triumph Spitfire. Jonas Stein is not starting. He's got engine troubles after that qualifying, but he should be in a 64 Triumph Spitfire. V. Carl George, 1959 MGA, the chief of Zapata Racing. Logan Maurer did our Roebling Road School last year. He's in that 1990 front-wheel drive Honda CRX. He's going to have a blast tomorrow with the predicted weather in a front-wheel drive. Mark Pomeroy in a 1961 wooden ash-framed Morgan Plus 4. Beautiful car. He's racing out there in wire wheels, so of course he has my attention. This is a split start with the Miata Group in Group 1. Ken Morse, 1969 MGB. Frank Schober in a 1988 Volkswagen Golf. Bert Stein in a 1961 Bubba MGA of Don Meyer. John Phippen, I'm going to give you the call a little bit as these Miatas come down the hill. We'll give it a lap and we'll introduce our special guest.
Here they come down the hill indeed, well formed up as they're coming under the attention of the starter. As they begin to accelerate, and we are away, and a good jump for the white and red Miata.
Anthony Fornetti.
And Tony Fornetti with Skylar Cottrell right behind him. Gil Jackson slotted into the 3rd spot. Yusuf Mohammed, but Tony Ferretti with the advantage in that NA Miata. That's the one with the 1600cc motor. The NB Miata of Skylar Cottrell in the 2nd spot in that 99 car with the bigger 1800cc motor. They are nose to tail. I'll tell you what, Cottrell's looking racing in that pink number.
Yeah. As we get our Group 2, 3, 4, and 1 coming through. John Nash looks like he takes the green flag. He is in that Lotus Super 7.
Daniel Becker, I think, slotted in behind in the Crossley. We've got some, a couple open wheel cars in that 71 machine of Daniel Becker, the 211 of Jeff White in the 2CF class. Small bore open wheel class in SVRA racing.
Yeah, old John Nash is a heck of a campaigner. I race against him all the time, and that's the same car that he races in Group 8. So he is really familiar with how that car handles it all. He puts a little weight in it, but it's almost an unfair advantage. Old John Nash, he's been known to make that car quite wide and put it into places. The blue stripe with 2 yellow stripes is Andy, our Scotsman, Andy McLean, who is a heck of a runner, and he says that Scott Fraser, who is being held up by the Devon, is going to come after him.
Yeah, he is. And the voice you're hearing is Dave Nicholas, 5-time Group 1 champion, and what you know is the Honeybee, the beautiful yellow MGA. But this weekend, you're racing a really special car. Why is it especially special here at Road Atlanta?
Well, it's a 1968 BMW 2002 that we raced. My team and I raced back at in the Camel GT and Trans Am in the 70s, 72, 73, and 74. And in 1973, that car and myself won the Camel GT under 2.5 liter race right here at Road Atlanta.
And it hasn't changed much, right? The car looks like as it probably went off the track at 73, and you haven't really done much. And tell us about the search to find that car.
Well, it was lost for quite a while. A couple of friends of mine, it stayed in upstate New York, where the car was built, where we originally built it in 72. And some friends of mine found it, got a hold of the owner, bought the car, and surprised me with it. I mean, it truly was. Hey, Dave, could you take a look in the garage and see what's here? And there was my old Trans Am car.
That's awesome. As we saw Becker kind of try to make a look into John Nash, and this is something that I just saw you do last weekend with the Charlotte Motor Speedway. When you're behind a car, you're doing everything you can to get them to watch their mirrors and go a little bit offline. Is that the strategy when you're racing guys like this?
Absolutely. It's much easier for them to make a mistake than for you to get by them at times. Boy, I see Andy McLean is pulled away from the Devon. And,
but look, isn't that a beautiful car?
It's absolutely spectacular. And now Rick Fraser's in front of his son. This is unusual. I suspect that Scott is having a problem or two.
Well, Scott and his wife Jessica have just recently had a baby. So he may be, a little bit tired, a little bit distracted as we see Gary Hagopian right there next to David Conrad. Logan Maurer in that Honda CRX. It's a great battle with David Conrad coming up in front.
Yeah,
Gary Hagopian, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the Gary Hagopian, the old Armenian, raced a red XKE coupe. He still has it, but he says it's so pretty he doesn't dare race it because he might scratch it.
So you have a long history of racing and one of the greatest historical racing websites. Tell everybody how they can see your story and some of these photos.
Well, years and years ago, the way we, as kids, as teenagers, would get to races was to take pictures of cars at a race and develop them, then show up the next race and sell them, try and get $2 or $3 for a shot. As an example, I would say, Ben, here's a picture of your TR3. Give me $2 and it'll go. The reason we could do that is we were photographers for the high school newspaper. So we had cameras, we had a dark room, we were able to get film for free, and we just kind of turned it into a little business.
That's awesome. So if you want to go to that, it's barkboys.com. We've had some great racing here.
Yes, we
Frank Schober in that 1988 Volkswagen Golf, we saw him had to give over the passing at turn 3. But the Miatas, John, I know you've been covering Miatas for quite a while at Mid-Ohio. It's always some fantastic racing.
Yeah, the best racing on the planet, really, is the Miatas, and especially the vintage Miatas that we're seeing now in SVRA competition. I can remember not too many years ago when there were no Miatas in vintage racing, but now the two classes, the NA Miatas with the smaller motor, Tony Fernetti with a comfortable lead over Gil Jackson by about 7 seconds. Richard Schnabel bringing up the final podium spot in the NA class. Only 2 of the NB Miatas in this field. Skylar Cottrell in that pink number 99 with a big lead over Yusuf Mohammed. It's about 4.5 seconds or so. I'll tell you what, the car that I really like, and again, I'm showing my age here, that Group 4 Devon. I can remember back in not too many years ago when we would have a whole class full of these beautiful Group 4 cars, and sadly they've become so rare and so expensive that the owners just can't afford to bring them out and bring in vintage racing anymore, and I just miss seeing all those great old Group 4 cars.
Well, they're quite a remarkable thing in that it's what the chassis is unknown.
Yes.
I mean, it can be a Jaguar, it can be an MG, it can be anything, but they all share that gorgeous Devon body.
Exactly right.
And that's James Freeman, who we saw in that Mattage in the last race out there in that beautiful black wire wheels. Anytime you race a car with wire wheels, you have my attention. And that is just a beautiful car. So thank you for bringing that out as we watch John Nash come up over the hill. And that's kind of a blind spot with that big Volkswagen Golf. And who would have thought you'd call a Volkswagen Golf a big car? But compared to a Lotus Super 7 and a Formula 4, that looks like a tank.
Well, it's pretty clear that Scott Fraser's got his game back together. He passed his dad, now has about a 2.5–3 second lead on him.
He's listening to our broadcast, so anytime we roast him, he gets a little faster.
I'll bet he does.
Yeah.
On screen, we're seeing this great battle at the front between the Lotus 7 and the 71 of Daniel Becker in that 2CF Crosley. As Becker thinking about having a look-see as they come down the hill toward turn 6, but thinks better of it. But that 3CF Lotus Super 7 to John Nash, as you said, probably with a little ballast in it, but it's nonetheless it's a quick one, no doubt.
It is. It's one of the only production cars, if you can call it that looks open wheel. Like it almost looks next to the Formula 4. They look like they could be racing together in the same class almost.
Yeah, it's got those wings that really prevent it from going very fast in a straight line. It doesn't surprise me at all if the Ford can get by him on that long back straight. I mean, that's what killed me today was the back straight.
Yeah, those front fenders on the 7s act just like a big parachute to slow that car down.
Oh, and if you've driven one fast, they flap. I don't get it. No matter how many struts you have on them.
Yeah, exactly right.
Oh, it's a great. You're right. It is a great race, those two.
So I went out to dinner with 5 of the racers and Dave Nicholas sitting to my right last night, and there's no love lost between these vintage sports car MG Triumph drivers and these Miata drivers. So how can we bring these worlds together, Dave?
Well, the Miata drivers drive to a different set of rules than vintage does. I mean, they battle hard, and they're not afraid to touch each other from time to time. Certainly the bodywork and the livery on the Miatas is not quite as clean as it is on our vintage cars. So all we have to do is to educate them not to be quite so rough when they go by us.
Well, and the problem is spare parts for the Miatas are thick on the ground. They have no trouble finding them. If you crunch a front fender on a Frog Eye Sprite like this, you've got a little bit of a search to try to find the necessary spare parts, or you're going to be doing some repair work of your own.
No, that's a great point. I had not considered that, but you're 100% right.
The Miata drivers, they can find a junkyard full of NA or NB Miatas to find their spare parts without any problem at all. But these great old 60s cars are a little tougher to find parts for.
Argument could be had, maybe not the Bug Eye, but the MG Midgets and the Austin Healey Sprites, not the Bug Eyes, were kind of the Miatas of the day.
Of course,
they were kind of the cheap,
the everyman sports car.
But look at this, Cottrell's coming in. The Pepto-Bismol Pink, unfortunately, is coming in as we see Yusuf Mohammed take second place in the Miata race. Not sure what happened to Skylar Cottrell. He's usually really fast as he's coming in.
Yeah, it's coming out of its own power.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be showing any adverse signs, so maybe he's got a problem in the drive line, or maybe it just got a little too hot. This is the hottest day we've had so far this weekend. Maybe it got a little too warm.
Oh boy, side by side into turn 1.
Becker
the Formula car's got him.
Yeah, that's Becker over John Nash. As we look there is Andy McLean. He is winning right now in our Group 1.
I'm sorry to say this, Ben. His name is Andy.
Yeah,
Andy McLean.
Well, I roasted him at VIR because he didn't bring me a Scottish flag, so I told everybody he fakes a Scottish accent after watching the movie Shrek, and his wife was not happy about that.
Well, I think Andy needs to bring some scotch, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's the kind of swag that I like to see.
Another great idea.
Exactly.
And I need to apologize to you, Dave. I was trying to get our cameramen to focus in on that beautiful 2002 race in our Group 8 just a few minutes ago. But they radioed back and said that you hadn't paid your cameraman tax. So you need to go out to each camera location around the track and just slip them a 20, and you'll be in the broadcast next race.
Or a cold beer.
Exactly, either one.
On a day like this, the cold beer would probably be appreciated.
Well, this seems to be the Miata race there that we're following right now. This is the great battle for these Miatas. And usually when we have a group of about 20 or 25, like you saw at Mid-Ohio last year, It's a train of Miatas, but this field is getting pretty spread out right now with Anthony Frenetti about to pass my good buddy the Chief and his MGA as Scott Frazier comes up on that Devon and James Freeman.
You know, that could have caused Scott to go back if he tried to get alongside the Devon in braking or something, and we didn't see that, but and nor am I saying it did happen, but it could have slowed him up. It's a very difficult thing in a car like a Sprite or a small engine production car when you get alongside a V8. They just get so many legs on you, so many car lengths on the straight. Very difficult to get back and hold a position.
There he is, the Chief, and that beautiful MGA has been racing with SVRA here at Road Atlanta since 1982 as he gives Anthony Frenetti a point by. He doesn't want to get tangled up with a Miata, and they're not even in the same race. They're in the same race, but they're not racing for the same group. Chief is in a Group 1 MGA, and there's that beautiful Miata of Anthony Frenetti, a Uber from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
He's got a big lead over Yusuf Mohammed after the Pepto-Bismol pink Miata had to retire. That's almost a 12-second advantage for Tony Frenetti. Again, two separate classes. Yusuf's the leader in the NB class. Gil Jackson running second in NA is a further 15 seconds up the road. So Frenetti with a big lead. No surprise, he's always a perennial front runner in this class.
You'll notice that Kermit the Frog dropped back from the Devon when he was right on his tail. Oh, that's a difficult thing to do, but that's racing. I mean, that's what makes this thing so wonderful, is that you get cars of such a diverse nature racing against each other. Except for the Miatas.
I actually love the Miatas. I'm talking to the group. They've been racing in the SCCA Spec Miata class, and when they started racing with us, they were a little bit leery, and then 3 races in, they're loving it. They're like, I only have to paint my car once. We're no longer rubbing against each other. I don't have to worry about being punted at the last turn, a Road America, and a long train. And they talk about how much more difficult it is in this no-contact racing. And like Anthony Frenetti, Mark Cephalov said, they actually think it's made them better drivers because they can actually just work on their line and not have to worry about, you know, glancing off of other drivers. So it's been a lot of fun to watch as Becker really takes the lead right now over Nash.
Yeah, he's opened up a big advantage after trailing Nash by a couple car lengths for most of the opening part of this race. Now with about a minute and a half remaining, Nash is well back in that Super 7.
I understand it perfectly. John was probably holding him off, and the Formula car was right on top of him. And once he got by, the smart thing to do is just run your own race. Yeah. There's nobody challenging you. Take a well-deserved second place and live to fight another day.
Yeah.
And these small bore racers, all about momentum. It's all about maintaining your corner speed. And you know, you get one little balk as going around a back marker or something like that. It really takes all the momentum off. You can lose a bunch of ground in a hurry because it's hard to make it back up.
Oh,
and what I love about John Nash, he's at almost every event with us. But his wife Lorna, we have some great people. So your girl Rosie, she loves it. It seems like Lorna and Rosie are having just as much fun as the drivers out there watching. I'm always seeing Rosie taking photos. She's cooking us lunches. So it's a big family affair in the SVRA paddock, and that's what makes vintage racing so special.
Well, probably what keeps them together is their love of champagne. So I don't know if they like each other, but whoever's got the champagne, the other likes them.
Look at the smile on that Miata as the bug-eye sprite of Gary Hagopian smiles back. That's a really cool thing. That's what I love about sports cars, the faces on these cars. They just look like they're having so much fun out there.
Last lap is out. The last lap board is out as Frenetti is into a huge lead over the second place runner, Gil Jackson, in his own class. As he's all by himself out in front.
Well, John, this is the first time we've been able to announce together. I've been an admirer of yours for about 10 years with your announcing SVRA races at Mid-Ohio. And I got to say, it's an honor to be in the booth with you.
Well, and then Ben, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Dave Nicholas with us, too.
Yeah, I know.
Did you announce you were at Mid-Ohio last year for SVRA?
Indeed. Yes, sir.
And I went into the first turn right next to Kermit the Frog in my yellow MGA. And the fella in the Datsun sedan, he did not like the fact that I passed him at the start. I got him good. He hit me and spun me around. I'll tell you, I had to dry clean my driver's suit. All 30 cars, I was facing the other way. Every one of them missed me. So I don't know if you caught that or not, but it was a hell of a moment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Vintage Weekend is always my favorite weekend at Mid-Ohio, and I so look forward to being a part of the Super Tour here as we work our way.
Here we go, Anthony Frenetti, 10A, 10B. John, I want you to famously drive us home to the checker flag.
Anthony Frenetti with a huge lead, almost 12 seconds as he comes under the bridge, down the hill, plunging into turn 12, a really tricky turn, but Anthony Frenetti has got it all his own way as he comes across the stripe to take the win overall as well as in the NA class.
Oh boy, all together in that turn.
Yes, sir. We got a big gaggle of cars coming across the line. Some of them a lap down or so. But hey, they're still having fun. That's what it's all about.
Got to give it up to my friend Yusuf Muhammad. Hard fought. Second place finish in his Miata. He was here last week with the Hoosier Super Tour. They started, I think, 71 Miatas. And now here he is the very next weekend from Alpharetta, Georgia, racing out there with us again. Nice job. Daniel Becker in third, first place Group 2. Gil Jackson, third place, NA Miata. And John Nash is our first Group 3.
In fact, he got around Gil Jackson right there at the finish. There they come across the stripe. Yeah, so John Nash finishes fourth overall in that Super 7. Gil Jackson, second place finisher in NA. Jeff White, as we already talked about in the Cross League, winning the open wheel class.
I got to roast my friend here, Anthony Frenetti. With a name like Anthony Frenetti, I met him by saying, hey, can I put a camera in your car? So with a name like Anthony Frenetti, you'd think he'd be like, forget about it, you know? But instead, being a Youper, he's like, oh, yeah, you betcha. And it just didn't compute. Here's the replays.
Yeah. I'll tell you, John, you've got two great courses. I mean, Road Atlanta and Mid-Ohio, fabulous. I'm not sure if we can bring number 60 to BMW in Mid-Ohio, but in 1973, the Mid-Ohio 6-hour, we were the first touring under 2.5 liter car to finish in the top 10 of a Camel GT race. We finished 10th and won our class, and it was just a huge honor because it was our first big win. And we went on to win 2 or 3 more that year and won the championship. But Mid-Ohio is just a fabulous course.
That is awesome.
Well, we're going to be there at the end of June, and certainly looking forward to you with whatever cars you might.
So that wraps it up. Group 1, 2, 3, 4, and the Miatas. Tony Frenetti first place, Yusuf Muhammad second, Daniel Becker Group 2 first place, but overall third. John Nash at the line took overall fourth over Gil Jackson. Jeff White sixth. Delaney Calhoun. J. Richard Schnabel is in a Miata. Would like to see him back at that MG, but congratulations, 8th place. Andrew McLean wins Group 1. Scott Frazier's not going to be happy about that. 9th overall, followed by David Bain. Nice job. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And what's next, John? Is F4 next?
I believe so. The final race of the day for the F4 US Championship.
Thanks, Dave Nicholas.
Oh, my pleasure. Everybody enjoy the racing because on the other side of the wheel, we sure enjoy it and want to put on the best show we can for you.
Thank you so much.